Hello, I'm John. Corrick and Elizabeth and I are back from our trip up to the Benelux region. We had a terrific time. This is the story of our final journey back into the Solent, and sweeps up a couple of things associated with the trip for those of you who might be thinking about heading up that way. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy this video. Before we go too much further, there's three things that came up in the last video that might be worth talking about. First of all, my Dutch pronunciation is not great. I will take that on board and put the spelling of the place inside the video when I go somewhere where I don't know the language at all, never mind casually. Second one is a bit of a sort of conversation about life jackets and so forth. I'm sort of with the Royal Yachting Association on this, that although there is no need, certainly in the UK, for compulsory life jackets, it makes some sense to me to be wearing them unless you've made a really explicit decision that you're not going to. So, for example, if you're going to go for a swim, just because, and as was shown in the last one, the weather conditions can change really quickly, and if you've been knocked on the head and you're in the water, it's really difficult to go and find and fit your life jacket at that point. And lastly, motoring cone. When we first arrived in Belgium, we saw quite a few motoring cones, and we got the message that it was taken a little bit more seriously than it is in the UK, where we often joke that a motoring cone on a boat in the Solent means that that boat is carrying a yachtmaster instructor. But yeah, inside the waterways with no sails up, absolutely no need for the motoring cone. The motoring cone really there if you are with sails up, and it might be confusing to other seafarers whether you're a sailing vessel or a vessel under power. That, I think, is it. Going back to this video, this sort of picks up just as we are climbing out of the lower reaches, having got to our final last lock to get out, and our trip back, the nearly 200 miles back to Portsmouth.
Pick up this story having left Zierikzee on our way to Rompotschluis in order to exit the Oosterschelde, and we'd had quite a nice sail until we got out, and then it started to change.
Well, it's fair to say that it is no longer flat calm. There's a little bit of a sea, quite short and stoppy. So we put the third reef in, and we seem to be going okay, although there's a nasty bit of cloud up ahead of us. Yeah. So we'll see what happens underneath that. Yeah.
One of the great things about sailing in company is you can compare your track with the others. This was us. We went a bit off the wind and then hoped that the wind would curve round, which it did, but not quite enough. Ripple, on the other hand, put a big tack in, got a lee bow effect, got themselves inside shallower water, and I think had a much quicker trip than us by about 10 minutes. Truth is, however, we were unlikely to make it all the way home in one go. This was the forecast for the following day, so we decided to stay put. But it's worth bearing in mind that I ended up with a fair bit of water in the boat, which exploded one of our life jackets. Basically, this is the wet locker, and we had water coming down in through there into the lockers further aft. So we sat it out in Nieuwpoort. And this is the entrance by day. Coming in here at midnight in a bit of a storm was, I was glad that I'd been there before on the way up, but this is it from the air, and we were parked in here, but it was a narrow little gap to get in. They're very good in terms of how they handle the admin. It is just a QR code and then an email. We spent the day looking around the old part of Nieuwpoort, and then which was very, very pretty indeed. And then we went up towards the seafront, where lots of new buildings there, and enjoyed a coffee on the beach, sort of thing. But we were taking it nice and easy because we knew we had a long journey ahead of us the next day. Next morning, it was up nice and early and submit the voyage plan to UK Border Force.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I've just submitted my pleasure craft report for returning to the UK. We're just about to leave, Elizabeth and I, in Corrick for Dover at the end of our Dutch adventure. And she's here.
Hello, packing the bedding up.
Packing the bedding up.
It was extremely dark when we left, and this is us making our way out through that narrow little channel. As I say, I'm glad that we had had a good look at it, but as we came out, the sun was just beginning to come up, wind blowing from the south, so everything was nice and flat. And as we got out, a few more fishing boats. Here's a big Bing trawler, but we got out, and as the sun came up properly, we were making a reasonable speed, a little bit north of west. There are a number of offshore fishing things going on as well, which caused us to alter around a bit.
We have just started our second channel crossing of our time earning Corrick, and as far as I can see, it appears to be slightly de rigueur to have wind against tide. So when we were going northeastish, we had a northeasterly breeze and a northeasterly setting tide, and today it's the other way around. If anything, it's a little bit bouncier, I guess. Maybe because it's being squeezed as it comes up the channel, I don't know. Forecast was for, westerly 3 to 4 going southwesterly, and it has done that. No snorting in the background. And of course, because of the wind against tide situation, you're seeing a true wind of about 14 knots, the apparent wind, up at about 18. So we're bowling along with a reef in the main. We've got the number 2 on, which is a tiny bit overpowered, but we've sheeted her really far back. If I'll put a tiny bit of clippage. Clippage? What's clippage? Footage in, because by sheeting the car right back, we open the top of the head sail and keep the boat a little bit upright. It made a difference. By moving back about 5 car points, it changed the angle of the heel about 5 degrees. It made everything a little bit more comfortable.
We had the bigger head sail on and we sheeted it quite far aft. You can see that she's really open here. It keeps the boat very upright. But this was us making our way across the Dover Strait, just a little bit to the north of that passageway. And this was us on the way out. As you can see, 6.2 knots in direction we wanted to go, navigating the separation scheme. And this was us coming back a little bit faster at about 7 knots over the ground. And this is us making our way back. It was a little bit breezier, but we were a little bit more upright on the way back. It all looks good. And we were approaching Dover just as the sun was going down. We got in quite late, but we had a morning enjoying Dover, including the castle, went up there, beautiful panoramic views over the harbour from there, including the new harbour that we described a couple of episodes ago. Very good setting off point.
This little section here might be a little bit out of sync because it happened after we got back, but I think it's probably worth mentioning just in case it happens to you, because it had me scratching my head for a while. We were going to go racing last weekend, and we started up the engine and we listened for the splash of the water coming out the cooling system, and that happened. And then we moved just a very short distance, and Elizabeth spotted that there was quite a lot of white smoke or steam coming out of the exhaust. Now, we both know that we should be on the lookout for that. Black, bad news; white, bad news; nice and clean, good news. And I wasn't sure what it was going on because we'd obviously heard the water go out to start with. So we very quickly checked the water system, the impeller, changed the impeller because we were at that sort of time. But we then headed out into the Solent, and it originally disappeared and then came back just a few minutes later. So We were just about to get on the race course, so we ended up putting the engine off, sailed the race, got alongside in Cowes, and I really wasn't sure what was going on. We had hot water in the calorifier. The engine wasn't massively hot, even though we hadn't run it very long. And a friend from within the Contessa 32 Association said, "What sort of engine have you got?" We said Beta 20, which we have been absolutely delighted, has not missed a beat. But he said there's a good chance that a part of the cooling system has calcified. So I said, okay. And it was just a couple of Jubilee clips off, took the pipe out. And as you can see from these stills, there was quite a lot of calcification where the two pipes join north of the impeller and just before you get to the tube stack. Now, in all, it was probably about a half an hour job to loosen the nuts, get the pipe out, realize that was the problem, clean both joints, upstream and downstream, and put it all back together again, and it was fine. But I have added to my list of periodic checks when I do a service is to whip that pipe off and have a bit of a look at it. It could have been very nasty if this had happened in a big seaway, or if we were having to motor for a long distance at high revs. So something to check if you haven't already done such a thing.
Well, this hasn't happened very often this trip. We're actually on a reach. We're hurtling past Dungeness. Let me just put that in view there for you. Wind is right on the beam, really nice. About, what would you say the wind speed? So we're seeing about 15 knots apparent, right on the beam. We're doing about 6.5, 2 and a bit, well, not a bit of tide underneath us. And we're just going to duck into... Yeah.
Interest. All the fishing.
Yeah. Big beach up in Shingle Bank. They do that at Hastings quite a lot.
Just write it down.
Yeah. I'll take a picture and let you have a look. But we're on the homeward straight. So next stop, Portsmouth.
I'm looking forward to having a bath.
We had made quite good speed, so we were approaching Beachy Head just before the tide turned, but by that stage it had properly gone dark and the wind had gone into the east, so we were almost dead downwind. This is us, just a little bit off the quarter. As we headed further round, as we came round Beachy Head, the wind was right behind us, and what we then did was we poled the head sail out so that we could keep making our way. We kept the boat speed up. It was quite interesting being sailing with Ripple, trying to work out what they were doing at the same time, but we stayed within 2 or 3 miles of each other the whole way. This is it poled out, which was fine. But by the time the sun came up, the sea was up, but we were approaching Owers. The Loo Channel, just south of Selsey Bill, was our last and final tidal gate, and the tide was definitely against us. Fortunately, the sun was up and the wind and the tide weren't too strong, because there's a very strong recommendation that you don't do this if it's a bit nasty. But I thought you might like to see what it actually looked like. This is the Port Hand Mark, just to the north of where we were, and this is 16-18 knots of breeze and about 2 knots of stream against us. And it's really quite bouncy, and we weren't making a great deal of progress, but as the camera pans forward, ideally what you can see is just in the space of a couple of 100 yards the sea really does start to disappear, and by the time we got to the other side of it, it was almost completely flat. This is a summary of our trip. Some reasonably big winds, but fortunately not huge seas, mostly because it was from the south as we got here and we hid from a lot of it. Interesting to navigate the bank just north in France. Dover we really enjoyed, and then the 100-mile trip all the way around the southeast coast here back into Portsmouth. It was great to be back, but it's probably worth saying that we've got lots of local knowledge where we are locally, but it would have been a really difficult trip without this Inland Waterways book to explain how things work. Really quite nice book, well laid out, easy to understand and get to the right pages. Similarly, we had our North Sea Pilot, which indicated a few of the really nice places to stay, which gave us a help, particularly there were some shallow waters here north of Dunkirk and all the way down to Calais. Really good advice and guidance for crossing this, arguably one of the world's most busy pieces of waterway, and it was really nice to be back in Portsmouth in the shallow water, getting back alongside, going through the small boat channel here.
Well, all in all, Elizabeth and I really terrifically enjoyed our trip up that little bit of coast. It wasn't somewhere that had been high on my list to go to. It was the fact that there was a rally there that put the impetus behind it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can well see us going back. And I would encourage you to explore that, particularly if you've got nice easy reach to it, nice easy access to it. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.